So Jay, has Tesla now seen to the critics, let's say, it's obviously fallen today, but it's made its debut in the S&P 500 and it's raised a boatload of capital?
Yeah, well, this day's been a long time coming. Tesla's been around for over 10 years, and it finally gets its due in the S&P 500. I think the challenge facing a lot of investors is this first 600 billion of its growth has already happened. The S&P 500 is really coming in pretty late into Tesla's growth cycle in the grand scheme of things. We think this is kind of one of the challenges of large, broad market cap weighted indexes, is they tend to buy the winners of the past rather than capturing them through the early stages of their growth.
Well, that's just it. I mean, the shares have skyrocketed more than 8-fold this year. I mean, that's on a par with some of the vaccine stocks, for example. Is that it now? Is today's 6.5% drop the beginning of the sort of, reality-based phase of trading for Tesla?
Well, it's difficult to say. I mean, when you look at the broader electric vehicle market, only about 2.5% of cars being sold today are electric. So clearly there's still, 97.5% of the market left to go, basically over 80 million cars per year that can go electric. So this isn't a theme that's over by any stretch, but we're certainly looking beyond just Tesla at some of the other electric car manufacturers, parts suppliers, commodity producers creating things like lithium and battery technology that play into this whole ecosystem as electric vehicles really start to displace internal combustion engines.
That said, I mean, shares, are very close to $700. We're at $690 and change now. That's $315 above the consensus analyst estimate. What are those bears missing?
Well, they're missing that this is probably one of the biggest disruptive opportunities to happen in a decade or perhaps even a generation. If you look at how much disruption we've had just over the last 30 years in the shift to communications, remote work, the rise of the internet, the rise of mobile communications, we've seen a lot of sectors already be disrupted. The one that hasn't really been disrupted yet is transportation. The global automobile industry is a $2 trillion industry. Tesla goes probably far beyond that if you include space, you include solar, you include some of the other aspects of that business. So this is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity ahead. The Tesla probably won't be the only winner in, but we see it as just such a massive market that is still, really stuck in some old ways still.
Now, it's expected to make about 500,000 cars this year, and yes, there is, that target of 20 million per year, but that's 7 to 10 years away still. And, you would have to imagine that it would have to dominate a burgeoning EV industry in the United States for it to justify this valuation. Will all those things combine to make Tesla the winner, or by then, will some of the 8 OEMs that make up Tesla's market cap right now, will they have caught up a little bit?
Right now, there really isn't much of competition. When you just compare like vehicles on a spec for spec basis, no one's really coming to Tesla yet. The challenge is, can Tesla continue to go down market into more mass market cars? That's how you're going to get to 20 million units. It's not competing with the BMW, it's competing with the Toyota Camry. Once they can do that, the world is their oyster. They could really start to take over the entire vehicle market going forward. But we know that there's heavy competition coming in. The established players, while maybe behind on battery technology, have very good operations and very powerful manufacturing apparatuses behind them. So once they really lean in, which we think is still probably 3 or 4 years away, it's very possible that Tesla will have built up too much of a lead to really be surmounted.
Part of its plan also is to, produce a lot in China. How crucial is it to Elon Musk that the President-elect Joe Biden and his incoming staff, that relationship with China is constructive? Or can Elon Musk carry out his ambition in China even if the administration takes a somewhat hard stance regarding China?
Well, it's a two-way street. China's the biggest automobile market in the world. So we not only need support from the Joe Biden administration for dealing in China, but Elon Musk also needs support from the Xi Jinping administration to be building in China, because they have their own electric vehicle manufacturers as well. So if they don't want Tesla in their backyard, they don't have to have it. So far, it looks like a pretty amicable relationship, and the Chinese are happy to have Tesla producing in the country. But that is certainly a risk for Tesla going forward.
At what price, Jay, would you start to consider maybe downsizing your position a little bit in the Drive ETF? Right now, as I say, it's about 4.5%, and it's almost double the next largest position in the ETF.
Well, that's just it. So we market cap weight our indexes. So we're happy to keep owning Tesla as it continues to grow. But 95% of our fund is invested in other things. And so we think that there's a lot of opportunity looking beyond Tesla, other electric vehicle manufacturers that have recently IPO'd, autonomous vehicle makers. A lot of the commodity producers in the lithium space are creating the key element going into batteries. So we really advocate for owning the entire ecosystem. Tesla, of course, is a huge part of that, if not the biggest part of it. But we think you're still missing 95% of the electric vehicle world if you're just owning Tesla.
Jay, how much is Elon Musk exposed to key man risk? Is there a danger that if Elon Musk were to, change his priorities, let's say, or become less involved with Tesla for some reason, that the stock wouldn't be performing like this?
I think a big part of Tesla, and clearly in its valuation, is based off of its future growth. And a lot of that is attributable to Elon Musk and the vision that he's created for a world of electric vehicles, for a world of potentially space travel, a world of solar, so creating an entire electrified transportation system. So he's absolutely a key part of that story. Without him, clearly he'd have to pick an incredible successor to paint a similar vision. And there's not a lot of Elon Musks in the world, so I hope that doesn't come to bear.
Jay, I have to ask you about the move to Texas. It obviously caused a lot of ripples, and I'm curious, will other companies now be more inclined to make the move, given that Elon Musk has announced this move? Well, what does it mean for the future of Tesla?
Well, I don't know how much it means for the future of Tesla. I mean, it means a lot for the future of the United States when you see companies moving around. We've seen a lot of financial firms look at moving to Florida. We've seen a lot of tech firms looking at moving to Texas. The reality is, with the rise of remote work, the fact that we can use video conference to communicate, that we can use chat functions anywhere, means that you can start to play states off each other more. Maybe not every financial firm has to be in New York and around the block from each other. Maybe every tech firm doesn't have to be on Page Mill Road. You can be anywhere and still have innovation and collaboration and execution. And clearly, if Elon Musk, as being the visionary he is moving to Texas, that might give other CEOs confidence to relocate as well.
And finally, Jay, as I said at the beginning, a boatload of capital to play with now. Should Elon Musk prioritize this capital in tranches? How should he spread it out?
Well, they just did another offering to raise more money at these valuations. So clearly they're looking at their own valuations and saying this is a good time to raise more money. I think if they can get money cheaply, which they can right now, it's always a good time because they're going to have to be building tons and tons of infrastructure for the various gigafactories they're building around the world, for various auto manufacturing they're building around the world. They just need lots and lots of capital to be able to scale to that 20 million number you were mentioning earlier. So anytime they can raise capital is a good time.